can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, I'm gonna be talking about Fantastic Four #4 by Ryan North and Iban Coelho. This is the issue that was supposed to reveal what exactly the Fantastic Four had done that would make them persona non grata in the Marvel Comics universe. And initially, my idea was that, well, maybe there was some kind of a experiment that had gone wrong, and we did see at the end of Fantastic Four #1 that there was a huge crater in the middle of New York where the Baxter building used to be. So I figured, yeah, maybe they set off some kind of an experiment that unleashed a massive explosion that probably killed a lot of people. And while that is not an unfair prediction to make, it's actually something that is not necessarily as gory or bloody, I would even dare say violent, but something that was just way more messed up. We get a flashback in this issue that takes place roughly a few months prior to the events of this issue, where it's revealed that the Annihilation Wave was attacking New York. And the only way they were able to get rid of the Annihilation Wave was to unleash a protocol that Reed Richards had created in the event that something like this would happen. And Reed Richards had set up a device that would teleport the Baxter building and all of the surrounding areas somewhere else. Reed Richards gives us all the science behind how he teleported the Annihilation Wave and the Baxter building away from the planet Earth to spare all human life. And I'm not gonna lie, it's some very well thought out science. And this particular point, I'm just parroting what I read because I am not that high-minded when it comes to the academic discipline of science. But the idea is that he used the sun as a focal point for the teleportation. And rather, it's not even just teleportation exactly, it's actually time travel, even though it's also a fair bit of teleportation in there as well. Basically what's happening is that the Baxter building as well as the Annihilation Wave have been transported into deep space. Now you're probably sitting there asking yourself, well, why is everyone so angry? If the Fantastic Four teleported the Baxter building away, well, that's not so huge a deal. The world is saved from the Annihilation Wave, so yeah, why is everyone upset? The reason why everyone is upset is because the Baxter building wasn't the only thing that got teleported away. It was pretty much the entire city block plus any surrounding buildings. Now, this has huge implications, and we are shown those implications immediately. We are shown panels where a family has their child in a stroller, and the stroller just so happened to be just within the range of that teleportation, meaning that there is a small child somewhere that was teleported to the other side of the solar system. They even show where a woman left her child at a daycare, only for that daycare to entirely be ripped away from the Earth and sent somewhere else. And the children who weren't taken, their parents who worked in the area, they were taken. And this meant that a lot of these children ended up being orphans, placed within the care of the state. And in a lot of ways, this kind of would remind you of what Thanos did in Avengers Infinity War, where he just snapped his fingers with all 6 Infinity Stones in the Infinity Gauntlet and wiped out half of all life in the universe. But instead of wiping out half of all life in the universe, Reed Richards just clicked a button and sent pretty much everyone within the vicinity of the Baxter building into the unknown. This is one of those cases where there have been people who have been taken away from their loved ones, and then there are those who were left behind in the aftermath. Now, the good news is none of the people who were taken are dead. Not in any stretch of the imagination. What has actually happened is that they are teleported somewhere safe away from the Annihilation Wave. But the real problem here is Reed can't just bring them back. This was something Reed did in the clutch. He knew that there were going to be risk involved. He knew that there was going to be some kind of a consequence for doing what he was going to do, but this was the only way to protect humanity, so he did it. He made a judgment call, and that judgment call, while technically wasn't exactly the wrong judgment call, the problem is that he can't just whip everyone back to Earth after sending them away. They are going to be stuck wherever it is that Reed sent them for an entire year. This is why the entire state of New York is completely against the Fantastic Four. And if you're wondering, well, okay, that explains that. Is this why the Fantastic Four broke up? Yes, this is in fact true, but it's not because of public reaction to what Reed Richards did. It's also because Reed Richards didn't just send away a bunch of random strangers into the unknown of deep space. What he did was that he also sent away the adopted children of the Thing and Alicia Grimm. Joven and Nkala, the Kree and Skrull children Ben and Alicia had adopted during the Dan Slott run, they were taken away as well. And if you're wondering where Valeria and Franklin Richards are in all this, they were taken as well. This is what caused a rift between Ben and Reed, which is why Ben has not been hanging out or palling around with the Fantastic Four since the beginning of Ryan North's run on this comic. And while Alicia and Ben absolutely positively hate Reed's guts for what he has done, Reed is also beating himself up as well, because without even thinking about it, he sent his children away too, and they're not going to be able to get them back for another year. To be fair, Reed does point out that to the kids and anyone else who was taken away, they won't notice that a year has passed, supposedly. When they come back in a year, it'll be as if they never left. But for everyone who was left behind, they will experience a full year without their loved ones. This means that any child whose parents were taken away by what Reed did, that child is going to go an entire year parentless. For a parent whose child was taken away, they're going to go an entire year without their child. Anyone whose spouse was caught in it, same exact scenario. People's lives are gonna carry on while the people who were taken away are missing. And this is very much of an Avengers Infinity War plot point right here. The only difference is instead of it being 5 years, it'll only be 1. The other rub here is that they can't do anything to speed this up either, because when Alicia brings up the point that, well, why don't we just time travel or teleport to where they are and then bring them all back? They can't do it, because if they do try to time travel and go to where the children and everyone else are, it could potentially mess up the timeline and throw everything off and cause the children to not come back any sooner, but maybe force them to not come back until significantly later. So once again, this is why the Fantastic Four persona non grata right now, and honestly, rightfully so. I mean, yeah, sure, Reed, he saved the world from the Annihilation Wave, but at the end of the day, and this is not just a comic book thing, this is a real life thing, people are all about what they can see directly in front of them, and while they may see that the Fantastic Four have saved them from utter annihilation, quite literally, they're still going to see that their loved ones had to be taken away in order for it to happen. Something that could have honestly have been avoided if Reed didn't act as quickly as he did. And who's to say that if he would have waited a little bit longer for those people to be evacuated, that it wouldn't have led to even more destruction? No one really knows. This is a lot of probability and coulda, shoulda, wouldas and a bunch of other stuff. But at the end of the day, Reed made a judgment call and he has to live with it. And it's something that we even see in this comic, that he is struggling with it, even if he's carrying on a brave face while doing so. All the while, Ben and Alicia Grimm are trapped inside of Randall the space pirate, or rather the last vestiges of him, and that part of the subplot is pretty interesting. For those who don't remember, they do bring up Randall the space pirate in this. He was basically a character who I think only appeared in maybe a couple of comics in the entirety of his time in Marvel Comics, going all the way back to his first appearance in Incredible Hulk number 103 back in 1968, where he went toe-to-toe with the Hulk. For those who don't know, this was a guy who pretty much had the power to leech off the life force and essence of other people, and when he had taken enough power from someone or a bunch of people, he could become as powerful as the Hulk was, at least back then. But he hasn't been in comics for a long time. The first time we saw him since his first appearance in 1968 was in Annihilation Heralds of Galactus number 1 in 2007. This is actually where Reed brings up the whole idea of Randall being bifurcated, or rather being cut in half long ways. This is where that comes from, because in that issue of Annihilation Heralds of Galactus number 1, Terrax the Tamer had cut him in half using his trademark Cosmic Axe. But apparently there were still pieces of him still left out there, hence why Ben and Alicia were trapped inside of something that was eerily similar to Randall's physiology. But now that the team is back together, they can actually focus on maybe making an attempt to get the kids back. They don't necessarily say it, even though technically Reed said there is no way for them to get them back, but I feel like that is going to be the overall plot of this, and I feel like we are gonna jump over to Franklin and Valeria at some point and kind of see what's going on their side of things as well. Maybe they're gonna try and find a way to get back. I feel like that would be something Valeria would just already be working on before it even was possible that it could have happened. Who knows? Valeria probably knows what Reed's plan was before he even did it. That's just kind of how Valeria's mind works. But I do find it interesting that, you know, it was one of those situations where Reed, he screwed up and everyone had a right to be angry with him, and it was very on brand for Reed Richards. But anyways, that's everything I want to talk about with Fantastic Four number 4. If you enjoyed this video, do the YouTube thing, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you tap that notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that I put out. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube in 2023, and the only way I can do it is with the help of you, Earth's mightiest subscribers of the present, and you, Earth's mightiest subscribers of the future. Until next time, let me know what you thought about Fantastic Four number 4. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.